Imagine a thrilling yet terrifying scenario, straight out of an espionage thriller. Powerful submarines packed with lethal drugs like fentanyl, a potent opioid responsible for thousands of overdose deaths in the US, being targeted and destroyed by American forces in the Caribbean Sea. But is this a bold stand against narcotics trafficking or something far more alarming? President Donald Trump has just announced that the U.S. will send 2 survivors from such a strike back to their home countries, Ecuador and Colombia, raising questions about legality, ethics, and the broader war on drugs. Let's dive into the details of this unfolding drama, and I'll break it down step by step to make sure even newcomers to these international tensions can follow along. In a series of social media posts, Trump revealed that the U.S. carried out an attack on what he described as a drug-carrying submarine last Thursday. According to him, U.S. intelligence verified that the vessel was heavily laden with mostly fentanyl alongside other illicit substances. The strike claimed the lives of 2 individuals, while 2 others miraculously survived. This incident marks the 6th time the U.S. has targeted ships in the Caribbean waters in just the past few weeks, but it's the very first one where survivors have been reported. Prior to this, the previous 5 operations resulted in at least 27 fatalities in the seas near Venezuela, based on official administration figures. The 2 who made it through were plucked from the water by a U.S. military helicopter and transferred to an American warship in the region, as unnamed U.S. officials shared with media outlets. Fast forward to Saturday evening, and Colombian President Gustavo Petro took to X, formerly Twitter, to confirm. "We received the Colombian detained in the Narco-Submarine. We are glad that he is alive and he will be processed in accordance with the laws." This quick repatriation process shows the international cooperation at play, but it also underscores the complexities of dealing with suspected traffickers across borders. For those wondering about the bigger picture, you might enjoy this BBC Sounds episode that explores why Trump has greenlit CIA involvement in Venezuela. It's a fascinating listen that adds context to these high seas confrontations. In recent times, Trump has escalated his warnings against Venezuela's government, accusing them of flooding the U.S. with drugs. Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro, on the other hand, has fired back, claiming Trump's actions are an attempt to turn his South American nation into an American colony. It's a clash of narratives that feels like a modern geopolitical tug-of-war. Trump has stood firm in defending these naval assaults, insisting they're crucial to halting the influx of illegal drugs from Latin America into the United States. Yet, his administration hasn't released any evidence or specifics about the ships involved or the identities of their crews. In a post on Truth Social on Saturday, he expressed pride in the operation. "It was my great honor to destroy a very large drug-carrying submarine that was navigating towards the United States on a well-known narco-trafficking transit route." He went on to label the 2 survivors as terrorists, announcing their return to Ecuador and Colombia for detention and prosecution. Thankfully, no American military personnel were harmed in the strike. Just the day before, on Friday, Trump elaborated that the targeted submarine was specially engineered for hauling enormous quantities of drugs. This was not an innocent group of people. I don't know too many people who have submarines. And that was an attack on a drug-carrying loaded submarine, he emphasized. This statement aims to justify the action, but it also highlights a key point. These aren't your average fishing boats. For beginners, think of it like this. Submarines are typically associated with military might, so a civilian one raises red flags, especially when loaded with contraband. But here's where it gets controversial. United Nations-appointed human rights experts have slammed these U.S. strikes as extrajudicial executions, essentially accusing the U.S. of bypassing legal processes and acting as judge, jury, and executioner on the high seas, And this is the part most people miss. These operations aren't happening in a vacuum. Trump has already authorized the CIA to run covert missions in Venezuela and is reportedly mulling over direct attacks on Venezuelan territory itself. It's a stance that could escalate tensions in the region, potentially leading to broader conflicts. To understand why these Narco-Subs, as they're commonly called, are such a big deal, let's break it down simply. These vessels have become a go-to method for smugglers because they can slip under the radar of most detection systems, operating quietly and largely undetected. Often built by hand using materials like fiberglass and plywood. They're designed for one-way trips, deliver the drugs, and then sink the sub to avoid evidence. It's a clever, albeit dangerous, tactic that's evolved as traffickers adapt to modern enforcement. For example, the US and other coastal countries have intercepted quite a few of these homemade submarines over the years, showcasing how widespread this threat has become. Imagine the ingenuity and peril of constructing something like this. It's not just a boat, it's a floating fortress for illegal trade. As we wrap this up, it's clear that Trump's aggressive approach to drug trafficking through these strikes is stirring up a hornet's nest of opinions. Is this a necessary measure to protect American lives from opioid crises like fentanyl overdoses? Or does it represent an overreach that violates international norms and human rights? Could these actions be seen as a form of selective enforcement, targeting certain nations while ignoring broader issues? And what about the counterpoint that without concrete evidence, these operations risk branding innocent people as criminals? I'd love to hear your take. Do you side with Trump's hardline stance? Or do you agree with the UN experts that this crosses ethical lines? Do you think repatriating survivors is fair? Or should there be more transparency? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation.